down there in our swimming area and lay there on the sand beach and watch the deer come down the trail to the river on this mountainside. And boy, we decided that we was going to go down. That's what we was going to do the first day deer season was open. So the two of us decided we was going to spend the night. We was going to walk across it during the day, spend the night. First thing in the morning, we'd bag us a couple of deer. Well, we went in there on that day and walked across and never saw one deer. Didn't even jump a doe. But we had this thing. We was in there about 15 minutes and started hearing this thing call off in the distance. And well, at that time, I was going to be my life plan was to be something in the outdoors, you know, the wildlife of California. And I knew every noise that was made out there in that woods. And this thing started making noise, and I couldn't make it out. Never heard anything like it. But it's probably about 100 yards off. And it followed us all day long. We must have walked 3 or 4 miles that day, and alongside the mountain. And this thing was always off. Just every 4 or 5 minutes it let off this noise. It was always the same distance away. And I don't know how many times we stopped and listened and tried to figure out what it was. And this was before Bigfoot was even known. I didn't have the idea what a Bigfoot was. And anyway, we finally got to a place that we decided was going to stop and make our camp, just overlooking the clearing down this side of the river. And we laid down, and first thing you know, I woke up in the middle of the night, and this noise wasn't off 100 yards away anymore. It was right there in our camp. In fact, it was just feet away from where I was, but it's so dark I couldn't see what it was. We didn't have a flashlight with us, a couple of 14-year-olds, you know. And I poked my guy that was with me. I said, "Hey, this sucker's in the camp." And he set up, and I set up, and I had a 30-40 Craig, and I took it and just put it at a 45-degree angle and pulled it off. And when that thing fired off, whatever it was big. You know, it was on an old windfall that was laying pretty close to where we was sleeping, and it evidently standing on it because it pushed off that windfall, and you seen that whole tree, felt it move, you know, and took off and made all kinds of noise getting out of there. Well, needless to say, we didn't sleep the rest of the night. And the next morning, when it came time to get out of there, it started off again. But it was off, you know. It was off where it was supposed to be, and followed us all the way out again. And of all those deer that was on that hillside, there wasn't a deer to be seen. Both days when we hunted. And the deer, that's one of its main things, food source, and so the deer was just totally out of there. And it wasn't until a couple of years later when Bigfoot sprang up big time up there in Northern California. Where he was first discovered was a bunch of guys that was making a new road up to the Hupa Indian Reservation, and they were brush cutters. And this thing come in at night with their equipment they'd left there and picked up 55-gallon drums of diesel and threw it over in a culvert. Big tires was on those graders, moved them around, and had the footprints left there in the dust like it does, you know, when you're logging in the woods. And the next day, all the brush cutters quit. They couldn't get people up there to come up and cut brush anymore for a long, long time. So that road just come to a stop. But this, all of a sudden, everybody in the Northern California knew about a Bigfoot. And when I started thinking about it, and as I read these things today, all these accounts that people give on them, that's exactly what was there. And it walked right up on us, right into Now, it could have killed us both out there, evidently, but that's not the case with these things. Sometimes they're vicious, and sometimes they're not.
You think it's from something where we intrude into their territory?
Yeah, I think
kind of like what we do.
I think as population has started to expand and people start building farther and farther out, it's compressing where they live. And a lot of them don't live very far from where people are. They're there. They just, it takes a while for people to see them and to determine that they're there. But all the things were there. Now, I didn't notice a smell that night. There's supposed to be a really bad smell about them. But I don't remember that as a kid. I don't remember that was the case.
All the time I've been out, I've only had a smell like 3 times. 2 of them with you and I.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, only 3 times, even with all the screams and stuff that we've heard.
Yeah.
Only 3 times with the smell.
That's what I was going to say though when I first started that story. I don't remember if you sent it to me or what. I had a whole list of sounds that these things make. And you don't think something like that would be indulged in your brain. Mm-hmm. But I started listening to those. And there was one of them that was exactly what I heard all day long. That one day and all the next day going out of there, that exact sound. So I know that's what it was.
I remember that's what happened to me when that first scream. That's the only scream that I've heard. And this was years ago. And I didn't hear any of your stuff. I didn't know anything about what other people were saying, what Bigfoot was. And remember I asked you that? And I said, well, what other people are saying or what they heard? And then when I heard that same scream, that is exactly what I heard that day.
Yeah.
Once you hear it, you never forget
Don't
it.
ever forget it.
And I'll bet you, as a kid, I hunted all those by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go out and hunt these mountains, and I never seen anything like that. But I can remember now, there's been lots of instances that people talk about hearing noises off to the side of them as they're going through the woods, and it follows on the side. I've had that happen lots of times, and it always turns off to squirrels or something like that. You know, that's what you think it is, a squirrel or a deer or something just out of sight.
Making noise?
Making noise going through the,
Wow.
you can hear it walking out.
Squirrels will do it.
Oh yeah.
And then they're gone. And then,
sure they will.
Deer you can barely hear.
Squirrel won't snap tree limbs.
No.
No, that's right. No, I sure won't.